After the death of Munna Tripathi and the presumed death of Kaleen Bhaiya, Guddu remains to be the only option to acquire the throne of Mirzapur. Accompanying him is Golu, and together they reside fearlessly in Tripathi's house with Beena Tripathi until one day Guddu faces opposition. In fact, a strong one in the form of Sharad Shukla. How much blood will this Game of Thrones need in the Purvanchal dynasty? That is the main focus of the show. Is this show worth your time? Let's find out. और अगर आप ये रिव्यू हिंदी में देखना चाहते हैं तो डिस्क्रिप्शन में दिए गए लिंक पर क्लिक करें. Before I dive deep into the analysis of this show, we need to understand why are Mirzapur fans unhappy with this season. Nearly a week has passed since the release of this season, but neither has it managed to gain the popularity that its predecessors saw, nor was it able to evoke any feelings within the audience. I have a few potential reasons for this. Number 1. Introduction to an unidentified world. Season 1 and 2 of Mirzapur established both its primary and secondary characters. And this time we see these secondary characters coming to the forefront and orienting with us. Well, this setup and establishment takes about 3 episodes of runtime, which drains the audiences, making them feel cheated and leaving them bored. Number 2. The overexploited world of guns and goons. Season 1 of Mirzapur came out in 2018, a time when OTT was still on the rise in India and creators were still figuring out what stories to craft and create. Once the decision was made, we saw a spree of shows belonging to the world of guns and violence. Today, we have so many shows on offer that resemble the world of Mirzapur. Well, not entirely, but the premix comes from the same manufacturer. Number 3. The dangling sword of censorship. What viewers felt this time was Mirzapur being toned down. Okay, let me explain. We all remember how Amazon Prime's Tandav literally created one for the makers, which resulted in the introduction of strict guidelines and intervention of the government. The shows that were unabashedly real and raw like Patal Lok are now finding it hard to come up with their new season, fearing the aforementioned. Thus, the sword of censorship also dangled over Mirzapur, leading to less nudity, foul language and gore compared to its previous seasons. Number 4. Less screen time for the protagonists. With the death of Munna Bhaiya, the place that was ought to be occupied by either Guddu or Kaleen Bhaiya remains heavily unchallenged and vacant. We only see Pankaj Tripathi in about 6 or 7 scenes. On the other hand, Ali Fazal doesn't have enough screen time. As a proof, watch out for episode 6. You will barely notice Ali in any scene. Well, I believe this was done deliberately by the makers, to which I'll come later. Number 5. A weak antagonist. What came as an absolute shocker to me was the way the actors performed. Vijay Verma, Pankaj Tripathi and Ali Fazal look disinterested to say the least. However, Shweta Tripathi impresses us with her spectacular performance. But the one person who stung me the most throughout the entirety of this series was the character of Sharad Shukla, played by Anjum Sharma. He is the antagonist of the show, whose writing remains surface level and unexciting. His character is so unidirectional that you barely see any other side to him. And a weak writing like this results in the performance getting affected. Number 6. Slow-paced, especially in the beginning. Even if we take the time to consider every argument raised, this show never picks up speed. The scenes are extremely long and won't get over, even if you decide to take a short nap. For instance, there is a scene where Chote and Sharad are drinking together. Then there's another one where Guddu lands up in Nepal and starts playing cards with the drug clients. And many more. All these make up for the most sluggish moments on the show. However, there are certain things that worked for me. Number 1. Deliberate decision to detach the viewers. Now I'll try and explain why we see our main leads for such little time. To understand this, we need to go back in time and find out the theme of each season of Mirzapur. Season 1 was about the establishment and working pattern of Kaleen Bhaiya and his subordinates. We see what the power dynamics are like and how they are channelized across Purvanchal. This network building then resurfaces in season 2 with the introduction of new faces into the cast. Towards the end of season 2, we see a slight fall in the province of Mirzapur, leaving the throne unclaimed. Suffice it to say that if season 1 was the rise and season 2 was the fall, season 3 is the aftermath. That cannot just affect the primary leads but everybody involved. Violence ruins everything and casualties are expected. Mild spoilers, we see Guddu's father going to jail. We see how Dimpy and Robin's lives change forever. Almost every secondary character ends up losing something or someone that they once loved. Number 2, making room for new characters and plot twists. The writers successfully make us empathize with the characters that we see on screen. If in one scene we root for Lala, in another we feel bad for Rahim. The twists that come in the middle of the show, especially in episodes 6, 7 and 8, have the capability to jolt you to the core. Hence, this was a deliberate decision by the makers to keep our protagonists aloof from the bigger picture. Number 3, women presidents. Golu, Madhuri and Zarina, these women steer the series at major events. Unfortunately, this cannot be said about one of the characters called Beena Tripathi, who was once my favorite. This time around, she has just been reduced to babysitting her newborn and seducing Guddu at 1 or 2 occasions. However, in a confrontation scene with Madhuri, we see her power hungry, but that does not evoke any feeling in you. My question is, if an all-new character like Rahim can invest us so much into the narrative, why can't someone like Beena, who we now know for 3 seasons, do the same magic? Final word. Not all is perfect, but Mirzapur still remains a watchable show. Probably because of its strong brand name and those final 10 seconds that give us a glimpse of the unseen. Okay, place one hand on your heart while I ask you this. Do you still want more of Mirzapur? Well, tell us your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the Flick Addict. My name is Navjot. I shall see you next time. Goodbye.